Emily Parker woke up on the morning of her husband's 40th birthday with a strange heaviness sitting beneath her ribs. It wasn't fear exactly, but a quiet tension that followed her from the moment she opened her eyes. She lay still for a few seconds, trying to name the feeling. But all she could grasp was a vague awareness that something was different about this day. The house felt too quiet. The air felt too still. And Daniel, her husband, wasn't beside her. She sat up quickly. Normally, Daniel slept in on weekends, and today was Saturday. On his birthday, she expected to find him snoring softly next to her, buried under the blanket like always. But his side of the bed was empty and already cold. She listened carefully and heard nothing, not the sound of the shower, not the clatter of dishes, not the shuffle of his footsteps. Just silence. She slipped out of bed and walked downstairs. A small note sat on the dining table. Went out for a few errands. Back soon. D. The handwriting was rushed, the letters more uneven than usual. Emily stared at it, a tiny knot forming in her stomach. Errands. On his birthday. And this early. She brushed it off and told herself he probably went to pick up a cake or grab breakfast. But deep down, she knew the truth. Daniel hadn't been himself lately. He came home late several nights a week, tired and distracted. He seemed lost in his thoughts, as if wrestling with something he wasn't ready to talk about. Sometimes he looked at her like he wanted to say something important. But instead he'd force a smile and ask how her day was. At first she tried not to worry. Life got stressful. Work got overwhelming. People had phases. But that uneasy feeling had slowly built up over weeks. And now, on his birthday, the day he should be happiest, he was acting even more distant. Emily tried to shake off her thoughts and busy herself with chores, but she kept losing focus. She folded a blanket and refolded it. She watered the plants twice. She checked the time every few minutes. She wasn't usually an anxious person, but today everything felt wrong, as if she were standing on the edge of something she didn't understand yet. Around noon, Daniel came home. She heard his keys, the door opening, the sound of him letting out a long breath as if relieved to be back. Emily walked toward him slowly, studying his face the moment he looked up. He smiled, but it wasn't his usual easy smile. It was tight at the edges, just a little forced. And his eyes held a nervous brightness she couldn't ignore. "Morning," he said, though half the day was already gone. "You're back," she answered gently. "Everything okay?" He nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just busy morning." She waited for him to say more, but he didn't. He stepped forward and gave her a quick kiss on the forehead, almost as if trying to reassure her or himself. He took off his jacket, but his hands trembled slightly as he hung it. "You hungry?" she asked softly. "No, I'm good." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Actually, Emily, I need to ask something." Her heart paused. He only used that tone when something serious was coming. She braced herself. "I need you to get ready around 6, he said. "Wear something comfortable. Something you feel good in." Emily blinked. "Why? Are we going out tonight?" "Yeah, just the two of us. No friends, no family. Something important." His voice wavered. "Really important." She tried to read his expression, but it was layered with emotions she couldn't untangle. Nervousness, worry, hope, fear, all swirling together. "Daniel," she whispered, "you're acting strange." Swallowed hard. "I know. Just trust me, okay? Tonight will make sense." Trust wasn't the issue. She trusted him. What scared her was how afraid he looked, as if he was carrying something heavy and fragile. Something that might break if he said the wrong thing. Emily nodded slowly, and he exhaled with relief. The afternoon passed in a blur of restlessness. Emily tried to calm herself, reminding herself that Daniel had never hurt her, never lied to her, never given her any reason to fear him. But her mind kept drifting to the same terrifying thought. What if he was hiding something painful? What if tonight wasn't a celebration but a confession? When the clock struck 5, Emily went to get ready. She chose a simple navy blue dress, the one Daniel always complimented her on. She curled her hair loose and natural, added soft makeup, and kept her jewelry minimal. She wanted to look like herself, the woman Daniel fell in love with years ago. When she stepped out of the bedroom, Daniel stood at the bottom of the stairs waiting for her. The moment his eyes landed on her, his breath caught visibly. His expression softened, but behind that softness, there was still that same trembling nervousness. "You look incredible," he whispered. His voice cracked, just slightly. Emily walked down the stairs slowly, searching his face for answers he wasn't offering. "Are you sure you're okay? You look like you're about to faint." He laughed under his breath, the sound shaky. "Maybe I am." Before she could ask more, he reached for her hand and squeezed it. His palm was warm, but she felt the faint tremor running through him. She held on anyway. The drive was quiet. Daniel's fingers tapped the steering wheel every few seconds, and he kept glancing at her as if checking she was still there. The sun was setting over the Oregon hills, painting the sky with streaks of gold and peach. Emily recognized the direction they were driving toward, the hilltop where they used to go in their early years of dating. It was where they had shared their first long conversation, their first serious talk about the future, their first peaceful night together under the stars. But they hadn't been there in years. When they reached the top, Emily gasped softly. A small table was set up overlooking the quiet valley. A white cloth draped over it. 2 chairs facing each other, a small cake with candles. And 2 glasses, simple, romantic, nostalgic. The kind of thing Daniel used to do when they first fell in love. But even as Emily admired the setup, she felt Daniel's tension growing beside her. His breathing was uneven, and when he reached for her hand again, it was cold. "This is beautiful," she said, hoping her voice sounded calmer than she felt. He nodded without speaking. The wind brushed against them gently, making the candles flicker. Emily noticed the sky beginning to darken, stars slowly emerging. The scene should have felt magical, but the silence felt heavy instead. Finally, Daniel turned toward her, his expression raw. Before anything else, he began, voice shaky. "I need to tell you something I should have said a long time ago." Emily's heartbeat lifted into her throat. She had feared this. She had sensed it coming. The seriousness in his eyes didn't look like someone about to say something joyful. It looked like someone about to reveal something that had been sitting on his chest for far too long. "Daniel," she whispered, barely breathing, "please don't make me guess. Just tell me." He closed his eyes for a moment, as if gathering courage. His shoulders rose and fell with a deep breath. "This isn't about something bad," he said. "It's about something I've been struggling to say. Something that's been sitting with me for months." His voice cracked again. "But I promise, it's not what you think." Emily didn't know whether to believe him or prepare herself for heartbreak. The world around them felt like it was holding its breath. The breeze stilled, the candles steadied, and even the sky seemed to pause. Then Daniel looked into her eyes, and for the first time that day, she saw the truth. He wasn't distant because he was leaving her. He was terrified because he cared too much. Her fear tangled with hope, her pulse racing. "What is it?" she whispered. Daniel swallowed hard. And in that single moment, Emily felt her entire world tilt, preparing for whatever words would come next, good or bad, healing or breaking. Whatever it was about to change everything. Emily stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Daniel held her hands in his, trembling slightly, the faint glow of the candlelight dancing across his face. The sky above them was turning a deep purple, the first stars appearing like shy witnesses to the moment. Emily's mind raced. Every scenario she had imagined since morning, every anxious thought. Every fear collapsed into one unbearable, thrilling tension. What could he possibly want to say that would make him look like this? Nervous, almost vulnerable in front of her. Daniel took a shaky breath, trying to steady himself. "Emily," he began, his voice low but full of emotion, "I haven't been distant because I don't love you. That's not it. The truth is, I've been planning something for us, something I should have done a long time ago." His hand squeezed hers lightly, as if anchoring himself to reality. Emily's breath hitched. "Planning? What? Tonight is about your birthday, right?" Her voice was soft, almost trembling with anticipation. She studied his eyes, looking for any hint of mischief, any hint of regret, anything to clue her in. But all she found was honesty, layered with fear, hope, and love. It was overwhelming. Yes, he admitted, a small nervous smile tugging at his lips. Tonight is about your birthday. And us. I've been terrified, Emily. Terrified you'd misunderstand me. Terrified I'd mess it up. And terrified I wouldn't have the courage to say this out loud. But I have to. I can't wait any longer. Emily felt her heart skip. She had expected a quiet birthday dinner, maybe a few gifts, maybe a small toast. But this intensity, this raw vulnerability was something else entirely. Her mind raced back to the quiet mornings they had shared, the small arguments that had never turned ugly, the long nights of laughter, and the silent stretches when words were unnecessary. Daniel had always been steady, reliable, almost predictable. This nervous, trembling man was new to her. Yet somehow it felt familiar, intimate, deeply human. He reached into his coat pocket, and Emily noticed the small bulge of a box. She gasped quietly. It was a velvet box, not large, not flashy, but heavy with significance. Her hands instinctively flew to her chest as if to steady the rapid beat of her heart. Daniel's eyes met hers, shining with emotion she couldn't name at first glance relief. Love, hope, maybe even a touch of fear. I know, he continued, that I've seemed distant lately, that I've been quieter than usual. But everything I did because I wanted to make tonight perfect. I've been working late nights, saving, planning. Not because I don't care, but because I want to show us how much you mean to me. He paused, taking another deep breath. Emily, I want to make a promise tonight. A promise beyond words, beyond gifts, beyond birthdays. A promise that I will always choose you. That I will always fight for us. That no matter what life throws at us, I am yours. Emily's eyes welled up with tears. The knot of fear and tension in her chest began to unravel, replaced with a warm, aching relief. Daniel had always been thoughtful, always careful, but the raw honesty. The vulnerability was something she had never experienced before. It was beautiful, terrifying, and heart-stopping all at once. Her voice shook as she whispered, Daniel, I don't know what to say. He smiled, a small, nervous curve of lips, and opened the velvet box slowly. Inside was a delicate gold ring, simple, elegant, with a tiny, sparkling diamond. Emily's breath caught. She recognized the style immediately. It wasn't new. It wasn't flashy. It was antique, vintage, full of history, full of meaning. This, he said softly, his voice nearly breaking, was my mother's. She wanted me to give it to the woman I love, the woman I want to spend my life with. You already have your wedding ring. But this one is different. This one is a promise. A promise that no matter how life changes, I will always choose you. I will always love you. I will always come back to you. Emily felt her knees weaken slightly, though she didn't move. The wind brushed her hair against her face, the candles flickered gently, and the world seemed to shrink until it was only the two of them, standing on the hilltop in the fading Oregon light. Her chest tightened with emotion. She had imagined surprises before, but she had never imagined this overwhelming, heart-stopping declaration of love and commitment. Daniel, she whispered, her fingers brushing over his, I thought you were pulling away. I thought I had done something wrong. Her voice cracked, the weight of months of worry spilling into the words. I thought maybe we were drifting apart. He shook his head, his eyes glistening. No, Emily, never. The distance you felt. It was my fear talking, my clumsy way of trying to prepare for something meaningful. I was scared I'd fail, scared I'd hurt you, scared I'd ruin the moment. But I'm not pulling away. I'm choosing you now and always. Emily blinked, fighting back tears. Her chest felt full, almost too heavy to breathe. She took a step closer, her hands resting lightly on his shoulders. I was so afraid, she admitted softly. Afraid of losing you. Afraid of losing us. You could never lose me, he whispered, leaning slightly into her touch. I love you more than I can ever put into words. You're my home, Emily. You always have been. The ring glinted in the candlelight, tiny sparkles reflecting in her eyes. Emily swallowed hard, her emotions a swirling storm of relief, love, and deep, overwhelming gratitude. It's beautiful, she breathed. And I feel the same way. I promise I will never doubt us again. Daniel's hand brushed over her cheek, his thumb lingering for a moment, gentle and reassuring. He pulled her closer, their foreheads touching, and in that quiet moment, the weight of unspoken fears, small insecurities, and lingering worries melted away. All that remained was love raw, true, unshakable dot. He slipped the ring onto her finger slowly, carefully, as if the act itself was a ceremony of trust and devotion. Emily felt the cool gold against her skin, a tangible symbol of everything they had survived, everything they had promised each other, and everything they had yet to experience together. She held his hands against hers, feeling the warmth of his palms, the slight tremble that had now calmed into a steady rhythm. You've really left me shaking, she said, a small laugh escaping through her tears. Her voice was light, but her words carried the weight of the emotional storm she had been carrying all day. I never expected tonight to feel like this. Daniel chuckled softly, resting his forehead against hers. Good, he whispered. It means you still feel everything I do. It means we're alive, we're present, we're here. Nothing else matters. Emily took a deep breath, letting the night air fill her lungs, feeling the cool breeze against her skin and the warmth of Daniel's arms around her. She closed her eyes for a moment, savoring the stillness, the intimacy, and the quiet understanding between them. In a world that was often rushed and chaotic, this moment was theirs alone, pure, unhurried, and intensely real. When Emily opened her eyes again, she found Daniel looking at her with an expression so full of love it took her breath away. The stars twinkled above them. The candles flickered like tiny guardians of their secret happiness, and the soft hum of the evening settled around them. Every doubt, every fear, every misunderstanding that had lingered for weeks seemed to dissolve in that moment. They had found each other again, stronger and more committed than ever. I love you, he said simply, the words carrying all the weight of their shared years, the struggles they had overcome, and the dreams they had yet to chase. And I love you, Emily replied, her voice steady now, filled with certainty and warmth. More than I've ever been able to say before. They stayed like that for a long moment, holding each other, the quiet hum of the night their only soundtrack. Emily felt a deep, satisfying sense of peace settle over her. For the first time that day, and perhaps the first time in months. She felt completely understood, completely seen, and completely loved. Every fear she had held on to vanished, replaced with a profound connection that needed no words to define it. As the sky deepened into night and the first cool stars blinked brightly overhead, Daniel whispered once more, brushing a strand of hair from her face. No matter what comes, Emily, we'll face it together. Always. Today, tomorrow, every day after. Emily smiled a soft, emotional smile that carried both relief and joy. Always, she echoed. And in that instant, surrounded by the quiet Oregon hills, the flickering candles, and the whispering night breeze, they held each other tightly, two hearts fully reconnected, ready to face the world together, stronger than ever.